Yes, indeed. Round 9 of Africa Racing, the Championship Race Series for 2018, starting to really hot up at the Bultfontein Feast 150, the first sprint event of the season. Proudly brought to you, as always, by N1 4x4, your cruiser and Toyota four-wheel drive experts. A pre-race briefing with a lot of new faces, new names and new cars coming to play with us for the first time at the Free State. It's going to be fun to see who walks away with those valuable points as we close in on the last few events of the season.
Hi, Siffy. I'm the driver, Arthur, my navigator. We have today to do the racing, but I see the wind is going to give us a bit of a problem. I hope that just gets rid of all the dust and stuff. And I just want to thank Flip for the organizing. You can see it's well marked, and I think it's going to be a good race today.
My name is Carleen. This is my navigator Morena, my mother. We're looking forward to today's race. I want to thank the sponsors, Costa Boerendienste and Nashua. We're going to look forward to this race.
So are we and everyone involved in this round 9 racing action. Into the lineup then, when things start getting a little bit more serious. As always, on point, Bultfontein would open up our racing account and would be the man to beat in the early stages for the unstoppable multi-entered B category. We have to see if Bultfontein was going to change his strategy. The last couple of rounds he's been fading back in the first couple of kilometers and allowing everyone else to come through, so he's got someone else to follow. But the marking is so good, he may well run from the front this time. He'd be chased down by our lovely ladies, and Morena van Schalkwyk had some words before her event.
Just want to say thank you to CFE and Arthur, working on the car every weekend, every night. And Colleen, we're going to have a nice ride.
There we go. That's what it's all about at Africa Off-Road Racing, family racing.
Hi, I'm Arthur. We're racing in Africa Off-Road today, thanks to Flip for organising the event. There's people coming from far. And then we would just like to thank N1 4x4 for the sponsorship for the TV coverage for this event.
CFE van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw going to be a big threat at this event. Lining up his third wheel, they would no doubt be able to make the pass on the ladies and possibly Bultfontein as well. As Johan Besson and Johnny Walker, who have been in great form in the second half of this season, come charging on. A ton of development on this vehicle, making it a bit of a dark horse threat as they head on out, getting chased down by Martin, who'd be sharing his driving today with Eddie Madakuja. After that, Julio Ferreira with Samiz Onkabetsi doing the navigation in the P1. The Ferreira race machine is a beast. They've changed colors, changed a little bit of the setting through the years, but the speed has remained the same. The dust kicking up and hanging out there. Horst Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter, they've done a little bit of development on this car in the early part of the season. It's now coming on form, and the T41, one of the older spec Ford Rangers, would be a big threat, not only for category win, but also to walk away with the win overall. Not too many cars up the road for him to pass, but remember, with it being a sprint format, only 150 Ks to get the job done. Jaco and Nadia Esterhazen in the B12 would be trying to chase their way up into podium contention, but a podium in the Class Bs today would be a big ask. It's a stacked field. Good development on the Subaru-powered B22 of Johan Lloyd and Arnold Turon. And aggressive inside line styles. How did they know there weren't rocks there? They've got some X-ray vision. Wayne and Keith Smith also looking for wins in the Class Ds, potentially able to run inside of the top 5 overall, but a Class D win would be happy times for them. They'd be going up against Barry Kotzer and Given Nkabeni. Akil Jacobs in the B28, looking good in championship as well. Would be hoping to at least finish inside of the top 5 on today's run. In and out of the championship, Leroy Van Niekerk and Sean Van Tonda in the B406, formerly an Evan Hutchinson customer vehicle. Since then, it has been in the hands of some privateers as they try and get themselves into the incredible world of Africa off-road racing. Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher, haven't seen these guys racing for a while. Great to see some new faces. It's always going to be like that when we head across a border, this time racing in the Vrystaat. Stijn Vivier and Richard Carey in the amazing sounding turbo diesel version of the Ford Ranger, running in the TX category. They've had some mechanical issues through the year, but on cool days they can run some amazing pace. Werner Kennedy and Stefan van Platzen keeping their blades sharp would be a massive threat, not only in the P category, but also to run the numbers out front. And they were one of the crews that were charging, making early passes on the field to try and get as many moves up the road as they could early on. For now, the wind was playing a small game, but it did start to pump nicely as all the cars made their way out onto the track. Robert and Larissa Moore on the B30, not having to plow as much dust as they would normally, sitting outside of the top 20, but the wind was picking up and allowing vision to be cleared for the cars. Join us after the break as the wind gets pumping and the racing gets even faster.
A budget commuter, some amazing racing action, a riderless bike and a crime-fighting GS rider are just some of the attractions on this week's episode of The Bike Show.
Show me what you're cooking. Oh, let me see them moves. You got the whole world looking like the kind of magic taking hold of you. Taking hold of you. Taking hold of you. Taking hold of you. I can see the kind of magic taking hold of you.
Welcome back to Africa Racing as we now head out to the flatlands, right smack bang in the middle of the lap at the Bultfontein Boerekiefees 150 round 9 of the Africa Off-Road Championship Racing Series. Out front, still the story of Bultfontein leading the way, and by this stage normally he's faded back and allowed someone else, so this time he fancies leading from the front, allowing the ladies to try and catch his dust along with Sifi van Skalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw. The walkers, as always, spectacular, jumping in and out of the quarry section. So it was all status quo at the halfway marker of lap number 1. A couple of drivers starting to close things down though were Julio Ferreira and Samizi Onkabetsi in the P1. They were fastest on track at the moment as they tried to stay ahead of a charging Force Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter. That was the fastest vehicle on the track by this stage, running in the T category and looking to make some early passes. Wayne and Keith Smith were controlling the cheese in the D category. And on the day, they would have to go up against Barry Kotze and Given Mkabeni to see who could walk away with production vehicle Class D honours. Leroy Van Niekerk and Sean Van Tonda in the B406, about to be closed down by Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher. Pairing from KZN. More used to the cane fields and more technical nature this time around, allowing them to get up all the way through the gearbox into the top end of 5th gear and stretch the legs of their buggy bat. Stijn Vivier and Richard Carey, no problems on the intermittent powered turbo diesel Ford, with Werner Kennedy and Van Platzen absolutely flat tapped. They'd made a lot of passes in the opening lap to try and challenge for the overall win. Jaco and Nadia Oosthuizen, Barry Kutzer and Given Mkabetsi looked like they had some early problems on their vehicle, and the shots here giving us an idea of just how wide open it is. This is the flat pan section. The scene set nicely by Julio Ferreira and Samiz Onkabetsi in the P1. In and out of the flatlands, and beautiful wide shots just showing how dry it is No big surprise there. Everyone knows it has been extremely dry winter in the northwest and even drier out in the Free State. This has been the first time a lot of these cars will have been out to the Free State area. It does have a similar feeling as Vos Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter get a little bit buck wild on the descent into the pan. It does have a similar feeling to the Northwest races that dominate the majority of the Africa Off-Road Series for 2018 and previously 2016 and 2017, but much less rocky. The dust is powdery though, and if there is no wind, it is extremely dusty. Thankfully today though, plenty of wind, meaning the pace can stay high. Besson and Walker charging their way up now inside the top 5 overall. Subaru just enjoying their time. Everyone came back with incredible feedback saying they absolutely loved how the track was laid out. Technical where it had to be through the tech descent and hill climbs and some of the more challenging quarry pit sections, but the rest of it was nice, wide open, well marked and beautiful terrain. Bultfontein, this is where he's cut his teeth for the last 30 or 40 years of off-road racing and still is one of the men to beat in the B category. He was first wheel out, about to get caught now by Sifi van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw. The flying buggy B100 taking more Class B wins than anyone else on the season so far and trying to nail down their championship. They'd already made the pass on Carleen Croshaw and mother Marina van Schalkwyk, who would be happy if they could stay inside of a top 3 come the end of the event. With 9 cars competing in Class B, 4 cars completing in Class Ps. The Class P at the moment was being dominated by Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher. Had a real nice setup. They'd run soft suspension to try and get as much traction as they could in the soft loam. They made a ton of big passes in their P29 to try and run out front. They just made the pass on the turbo diesel of Stain Vivier and Richard Carey, who looked like they were having a decent day at the office. The turbo diesel offering some challenges throughout the mid part of the season, but today looked like they'd found their footing nicely in the Free State. Wayne and Keith Smith in the D26 were eyeballing a nice top 2 at least finish in their category, as at the halfway marker of their event they looked very comfortable. It was one of the best showings that we've seen out of the pairing for the B406 entry of Leroy Van Niekerk and Sean Van Tonder. They were certainly looking more aggressive, but they looked like they possibly had some suspension problems on the front right hand side, and that may be holding them back. Yaka and Nadia Esteisen on the B12 would eventually get themselves into a top 3. They'd run some incredible pace in the early stages of lap number 1. From here on out in the sprint format, I think they'd actually roll the dice and were not going to pay the price. A sprint format race of just 150 kilometers, you have to attack from the gun. Drivers that were probably attacking the hardest of anyone else, Werner Kennedy and Stefan van Pletsen, about to make the pass on Brendan Martin, who was sharing driver duties today with Eddie Madikadudja. Barry Kotzer and Given Mkabeni were an exciting team to watch as they try to see if they could walk away with the Class D victory. At the moment, they were second wheel to Wayne Smith and Keith Smith, but you've got to finish it to win it. And that is one of the big stories of off-road racing. Echard and Dirk Kitson in the P4. They would get themselves up in a position to take P4 in Class P, just behind Werner Kennedy, Julio Ferreira and Arthur Barnes. On board then with Sifi van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw, with a driver and navigator eye view of what it looks like when you're out there on the puns and in the veld. It's been an incredible story to see how strong the buggy has been running the whole way through this season, and they would once again be the team to beat and the team to watch. Colleen Croshaw and Marina giving us some onboard footage as well. Extremely tight. Pull those elbows in as we go through the gate. The special vehicles, the buggies that is, the space frames only just being able to squeak their wide tracks through some of those gates. Barnes and Usher still in great form as they plowed the field themselves, along with Werner Kennedy, look to be the fastest crews on track at this stage. Stan Vivier and Carey were charging hard, And at the flag, Vos Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter came home as first wheel. An incredible drive coming out of the development of this vehicle. It's been a long journey, a lot of long, late nights, but the flag was there, unfurled, ready and waiting for the T41, who took the flag and the victory in category and in category for the production vehicle Class Ts at round number 9 of the Championship Race Series. Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher unfortunately having some clutch issues. That's why they didn't make the stop across. Doesn't seem to have slowed them down though, as they charged their way to a first ever victory in Class P as part of the Africa Off-Road Championship Racing Series. So great driving for Barnesy and Usher. They came home second wheel. Johan Besson and Johnny Walker in the B11 walked away with a class victory. They were charging hard again, playing the game of launching hard out of the gate and staying with that form. 150 Ks in off-road racing goes by in the blink of an eye. Julio Ferreira alongside Samizi Umkabetsi in the P1 would eventually get a number 2 finish in category. Nice run for them. Keeps a hand on the trophy with 3 rounds of the championship still remaining. In the T category, but also the Unlimited X category, running the 777, Stain Viviers and Richard Carey had a good day at the office, not having to get out of the car for any punches or mechanicals. They would take a number 2 finish. Sounds like a jumbo jet landing when that thing comes in to stall out. Peter Funfai in the B17 played the game with the first wheel out and would walk away with a number 2 finish. In the C category, Colleen Croshaw and Marina van Schalkwyk walked away with a class victory as the only entry, but also walked away with a top 10 finish overall. Jaco and Nadia Esthuizen in the B12 would walk away with the final podium placing in the Class Bs, just ahead of Brendan Martin, who shared his car today with Eddie Madikatuja. Barry Kutzer and Given Nkubeni in the D5 would get themselves a nice win, with the demise, unfortunately, of Wayne and Keith Smith having to fall out on lap number 2, giving Barry Kutzer and Given their win. Martin came home. He had some issues on the car that obviously dropped him a little bit further down, but here is confirmation of the finishes in category. Class B going to Johan Besson and Johnny Walker, Peter Funfai in the number 2 spot, and Jaco and Nadia Esthuizen rounding out a rock solid 3rd place. Martin and Madikatuja, the last of the finishers, in 4th. For Class P, Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher, a great drive for them, beating out Julio Ferreira and Samiz Onkabetsi. Unfortunately, DNFs for Kennedy and the Kidsons. Class C going to Croshaw and Van Schalkwyk. In the production vehicle Class Ts, Barry Kutzer and Given Onkabeni did a great drive to beat out Wayne and Keith Smith. And Class T going to Vos Prinsloo and Kenneth Venter. They got an overall win, beating out Stain Vivier and Richard Carey. We went down to the pits to catch up with some reactions.
Yeah, we had a fantastic day today, but it wasn't without trouble. When we offloaded the car last night, we had no clutch whatsoever. So we spoke to the clerk of the course, and all the officials accommodated us, and they were very helpful in getting us across the road crossings. We also shattered our back driver's side brake disc 5 k's in on the first lap, so we had no fiddle, and yeah, lovely track. We're very happy to have travelled up here to come and compete in a WOMSA event, and we love what we saw.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Venter. I'm here at Bultfontein 200. We have a lovely day today with our bakkie T41 with driver Vos Prinsloo. We enjoyed the race. It was dusty and very fast.
And as all racers and crews head off into the distance, they prepare themselves for the next round, which will be the 13th of October in Corsica. We travel back to the northwest to pick up on round 10 action.